Hey everybody, how's it going?
Hey, how's it going, Mr. Steinbrenner? I'm Chris. I'm the one you were talking to before.
Hey Chris, how are you?
Good. So, for everybody that's in here, you know why you're here. Is Hans Steinbrenner. He is the president of the Lakeland Magic. He's here. He's been nice enough to give us some time. So while he's here, just please stay muted. Listen to him. If you have questions, we can ask after. I'm not going to take up too much of your time though. So thank you for joining us, and you can take it away.
No, I appreciate it, Chris. Well, first of all, thank you everybody for jumping on and inviting me over. To kick it off, I'm actually from Boise, Idaho, so I've been to Gonzaga every summer during high school for a basketball tournament, actually growing up. So familiar a little bit with campus. You guys have a great venue over there, the Kennel. The Kennel is a good spot, right? For hopefully a lot of you that have been able to attend out that way. And then we actually drafted one of your guys, right? Jalen Suggs playing for Orlando, and we're excited to see his bright future, and may or may not see him down in Lakeland with us as well. But extremely pumped to have him. Great kid, and going to be a good ambassador for us, for the community, and business wise too. But yeah, just a quick brief, I guess, kind of background on myself, and then Chris, honestly, I'll let you poke as many questions as you want, and let anybody else in the room too chime in. But so originally from Boise, Idaho. I went to the University of Utah. I got a undergrad in mathematics with an emphasis in stats, and then I was 1 year into a master's program in statistics before getting an opportunity to work for my first NBA G League team in Boise, Idaho, for the Idaho Stampede, which is G League affiliate for the Utah Jazz. So when I was at school in Utah, I took a lot of econ type math classes. I worked for the University of Utah men's basketball team. I tried out at first because I played high school ball. I was kind of a glorified practice player manager. I was a walk-on for all of 2 days before they realized my sophomore year that they were technically paying me $1,000 for all of my very hard work and a lot of hours that technically was pay to play during the time before NIL and all the other stuff that's going on right now in collegiate sports. So I had to politely not be the worst player on that basketball team and focus on working for them in the business side, really cutting all the film, doing a lot of the nitty gritty, just kind of get your foot in the door in sports, and a lot of, jobs that you're wanting. Obviously you got to work hard in school, but then I did all the laundry, volunteered, picked up all the food, and did a lot of the crummy stuff, but then got a lot of good experiences where I was sent to the Arizona schools, UCLA, USC, all the Pac-12 venues. We weren't good enough to, unfortunately, make any NCAA tournaments when I was there, as I was sandwiched in between two myself. But I did all the logistics for kind of the switch between Adidas and Under Armour in the equipment room. I handled all the a lot of the Gatorade, or we were Powerade, a lot of the Powerade ordering, helped with flights and kind of the back end on that. So when I got an opportunity to intern before going back for my second year in my master's class, I was fortunate enough through some connections to get to know and work for this G League team that I knew nothing about. I was not very familiar with the NBA G League at the time. At that time, it was the NBA D League, for D for development. And I grew to love the business end of the world of sports and sports management. So I learned how and why there's price points on certain tickets and sight lines. I understood why there's different partnership activation and deals that went into place with your Blue Cross Blue Shields of the world, called different things in different places, but what they liked, how to write a report and show your proof of performance. So taking pictures of different activation elements. If they do a t-shirt toss, make sure we got pictures and different proof of, the stunt team or whatever throwing those out. And really kind of the different activations that go along with just really truly the lifeblood of organization, which is tickets and then partnership revenue, merchandise and concessions. They won't get the job done, and obviously you can't really pre-sell much of that, especially not in the G League and minor league baseball and some of those. As you kind of get into the games itself, that's where all of your money is truly made. So got to know a lot of that. Did a lot of volunteer work, and fortunate enough to turn into a director of basketball operations role in my first coaching job. So I spent 2 years with the Idaho Stampede. I was now, rather than kind of operating and learning the ins and outs and being kind of the point person behind the logistical ends, I was the one that controlled the travel budget and reached out to all the visiting teams and all of the NBA markets as far as, hotels that we're staying at, booking all that, booking our practice facilities. I would then book all of our guys' time as far as the community appearances. So when we volunteered at Boys and Girls Club or the YMCA or different functions of what a sports team is also meant to be, giving back to the community and being a staple not only for people to root behind and the city to kind of come together on that end, but then also to serve the rest of the community. And my screen just blanked out. Keep talking here for a second.
We can still hear you. You're good. I see you.
Okay. Sorry, that was kind of weird. My screen's completely black, but I'll just keep going. So really got involved a lot in that way. A lot of X's and O's. Put together different scout team packages, and then from there, it's a lot of kind of who a little bit. So I helped set up kind of the launch of the Salt Lake City Stars. And put together kind of that movement and the basketball pieces of a sale of an NBA G League franchise. So a lot of teams nowadays want their affiliate to be closer to home, to be able to send their guys just kind of down the road for training and rehab and all that other good stuff rather than travel cross country or have to take a flight. So the Utah Jazz bought us, moved us. I helped that transition, but then somebody that I used to work with at the University of Utah asked me to go work for the San Antonio Spurs and the Austin Spurs, which, if any of you sports fans know, they're very well connected, do a very good job, have had a very historic pedigree. So kind of getting that stamp of approval, is good, and it's fun, and it really opened up my eyes to a lot of the saleswoman of kind of selling yourself, not only like on the actual business end, but then how do you present yourself to other people. So it was very professionalism driven culture, but also family first. So I was there for a year, did a lot of the same stuff I did in Boise, Idaho, on the coaching side and the admin side of basketball operations. I then got called by the president I used to work for in Idaho, who said, would you want to help launch a team in Oshkosh, Wisconsin for the Milwaukee Bucks? So I transitioned from really the basketball side to fully on the business side. So I sold corporate partnerships. I activated every single one. I was the guy that ordered the vendor to paint the floor, all the different partner logos, the jerseys, you name it. If it had anything to do with a partnership, I touched it. So I was business operations coordinator up there, which was kind of a catch-all to have the team president really kind of rely on me to help get all the different business functionalities underway up there, help sell tickets. And my favorite part, honestly, of sports on the business end is I did all the game production. So I sat at the scorer's table. I wrote the script for all the on-court activities, the music, the different fan videos, the intro video, and really what I love being kind of that sixth man. When you're not coaching, you're not playing, it's fun to try to get the crowd into it, the community into it. And so that was a lot of fun up there. I did that for 2 seasons. Helped get them into their 3rd season. And during that point in time, the Lakeland Magic and Orlando Magic reached out and asked if I wanted to come interview to be the vice president down here in Florida. That was the first time I ever visited Florida, was for the interview itself. But love it down here. People in all the different spots have been great. It is extremely hot in the summer. It is nothing like the Pacific Northwest, Washington, Idaho. The 4 seasons are not, the different seasons equally, as I like to tell people that they got to go visit Boise. Not the same here. But it's been great down here. Really oversaw the whole entire sales team my first year, overlooking all of the partnerships, both sales and activation, all the ticket sales, looked at the strategy for different product price codes. How do you do a value add to increase revenue rather than discounting tickets, pending what that looks like, obviously, from an outward perspective in your community. And then the pandemic shortened my first season here in Lakeland, in which we did a lot of, we had to really kind of be innovative in looking at our website, social media. How do we revamp and get people to be paying attention to us when we're dormant? So we didn't play any game. We have not played a game in Lakeland for what will be 19 months when we celebrate our championship November 5th here. But in between that time, fortunate enough that our team president got called up to Orlando. She's now the senior vice president of social responsibility and marketing. And in that transition, she asked if I would take over for her at the helm here. And was very fortunate and blessed to be a part of the team when we won our first championship. It was in the bubble, it was in Orlando. So it was kind of a weird season where we celebrated technically at home, but it was to literally 10 fans, which was basically our staff that was technically allowed to sneak in there because we could drive up that way. But then kind of coming out of that, a lot of my staff had left and jumped into other roles, either with other teams, with the Orlando Magic, or in the community. And now we're kind of having a revamp year. And now I see or oversee all of the P&L. I oversee all of the partnerships. I've got an amazing vice president who does all of the marketing, but really help kind of work with him towards getting like giveaways and different things to really try to drive that fan attendance, and trying just different tactics, different methods. I've been fortunate enough to be kind of on boots on the ground for our first broadcast agreement. So helped get us onto Valley Sports Florida, formerly Fox Sports Florida, this past season, and work on different broadcast agreements with our local radio group. I worked very close hand in hand with our legal team as far as contracts are concerned, with partners in the building and our arena lease, the use agreement for where our team practices down the road in Winter Haven. Just kind of all the ins and outs of an organization, the HR side, and making sure that we're fully staffed to put on a show come November. Make sure that we're there for our basketball team, players, coaches, and fulfill kind of the need that we need for them for player housing. And then just kind of set up all those community tie-ins. So volunteer where we can. It's been tough, obviously, during the pandemic, kind of making a lot of things different, as I'm sure it's very, very different for all of you too up in school, but we get through it. We're excited to welcome back fans, full attendance or full capacity come November. A lot of different COVID protocols and different paths of travel and other things that I was really, really hoping I'd have no interest in doing, or not have to be knowledgeable on, but I now know too many specific percentage in alcohol content, all the stuff and bacteria and everything else that a lot of different industries and really just kind of the HR security and making sure that your people feel safe, so they want to continue to work for you and they don't get sick, and everything else is just kind of a roller coaster in a very positive way. But that's kind of a 10-minute synopsis of my life and kind of where I went and where I'm at currently. And really look forward to working in the world of sports. Sports is fun. I don't feel like I really have spent this much time, but it's been now 10 years working in basketball in various roles between college and the pros. So yeah, it's been a dream come true, and look forward to the future. And Chris, honestly, I'll pass it over to you, and you can ask away on any and everything that you and your crew are interested in knowing.
Perfect. So if you have a question, hit the hand raising reaction, and Rayanne will call on you. I'll start it off though. What would you say are some of the most difficult parts when you were on your 10-year basketball journey? What were some of the most difficult parts of working in it?
I think probably the more difficult parts was just kind of being patient with the fact that everybody really kind of wants to get into the sports industry, or like roles and different um, you know jobs that are highly touted. A lot of times they could get away with maybe not paying the most ideal salaries, and there's a lot of roles that you kind of have to get through to be able to kind of rise through the ranks. So I think there's a lot of patience that has to go with um, understanding that your time might be coming, and good people. And I'm not bragging on myself, but I think like good hard workers that show that they care, show that they can be reliable, get those opportunities. But yeah, I would say the toughest one for sure is being able to. I mean, if it puts anything into perspective, for the 4 years I was at Utah, the 2 years in Idaho, the 1 year in Austin, I made a collective $35,000 over the course of 7 years. So, there's a lot of grit and grind and willingness to kind of, sift through a lot of that. But those were a lot of my most fun years seeing around the United States. There's other pieces that came with it as far as housing and gear per diem, those fun things. But I'd say the patience to just know that you're in good hands, and hopefully as long as you're a hard worker and you're around good people, that right opportunity hopefully is right around the door, right around the corner.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay. If anyone, I'll kind of pan through here. Does anybody have a question for Hans here? Just do a little hand raise emoji, or if your camera's on, you can literally raise your hand. I see Michael first. Michael, go ahead.
Hey, if you could just talk more about Austin and the Spurs, that'd be great, because I'm a fan of the Spurs. So
Well, some quick fun ones over in Austin is so my first year there was the year after Tim Duncan retired. And so I grew up being a San Antonio Spurs fan, actually. Had an uncle that lived out that way. And so one of probably the coolest experiences was when players are coming back from rehab, or like rookies need some extra time on the court, especially like in a very tough, long season of travel. Normally when the season starts, there's actually not that much practice time that happens in the NBA or the NBA G League or like baseball. It's non-existent because of just how many games, travel, and when it's off day, like the coaches and everybody else, they want you to be done. But what was cool is during the preseason, LaMarcus Aldridge had just come off like a minor injury. So they needed people just to be playing and going up and down the court. But because everybody else was kind of in the mode of getting ready for the season, they normally call on the video coordinators, the interns, and everybody else. So I got to go run out there with LaMarcus Aldridge. But to my surprise, Tim Duncan, who is always around the gym, is just around. He actually was there that day to be kind of playing against LaMarcus. So it was LaMarcus against Tim. And then there was 8 other of us that you don't have a name, just running around. But that was a really, really cool time because I grew up, like idolizing and very much wanting to be like Tim Duncan, just a humble guy that, just wants to get the job done, be a good teammate. But the coolest parts about that with like Greg Popovich, RC Buford, legendary head coach and GM over there, very much it's family first culture. But it's get your job done. There's plenty of stories that you can see out there, but one of my favorite parts about Greg Popovich that is actually in a book called the is it Talent Code? No, Culture Code. I highly suggest reading Culture Code. It's one of my favorite books, and it just goes through a bunch of different, like Disney and the Spurs are in there. It's just good cultured environments that raise different levels of thinking and teamwork, and how do you push each other, but how do you do it the right way? And so one of the things that Greg Popovich and the Spurs are known for is that Greg will literally treat Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, Tony, like Hall of Famers that have done nothing but bring championships to that city. And he will come down on any of them equally hard as he will their rookies. And it'll just be like a yes, sir, got it. And he will very much make sure that he jokes around with them. He's amazing with them. He cares about them. He cares about their families. He did Aboriginal night, or make sure that everybody for Patty Mills, who is from Australia, like made sure that everybody knew different cultures of their teammates. But like he would rip into guys, make sure that they're doing their assignment. But then immediately he expects, the way that it would come off is that you did something wrong. I'm going to call it out. I expect more because I know that you can do more, and I trust you. And now I trust that you're going to continue to do your job. So like, I've forgotten about that. I'm not going to hold it against you. We're going to keep going because we all have a common goal, and it's going to take time to get there. But it referenced a lot of different things as far as like when they lost the finals to the Heat, and the very next year came back and beat the Heat and LeBron James and the big three. Yeah, it was just, it's a very cool culture, and just kind of grinded out mindset that you see in San Antonio and Austin. So cool spot for sure.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Awesome. I can see Thomas on my screen. Thomas, go ahead.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask you about in your position or within the G League, what is the communication like between the Orlando Magic that you have, or in the other positions where you were with other teams and their affiliates? How does the goals of the Lakeland Magic correlate with the Orlando Magic, and are there some that you have to prioritize over others to match the Orlando Magic, or how do you, in that position that you have as president, operate with them?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So I think the ultimate goal of every G League team, of any minor league baseball team, for the most part, is to have the big club, your parent club, win a championship, right? So like, the reason why the NBA G League exists is to develop referees, so that when it came to be, I think in 2001, it was called, again, something different at the time, but it was because all the referees that coached during the Michael Jordan era and the the Laker era and everything else like that, like they were getting older, and the question was, who's going to come up and replace these guys? Who's going to replace and who's going to develop all the talent that we need, so that if somebody goes down, or as guys just get older and move on and just keep all the talent here in the United States, and easy to get somebody from going overseas to be playing here. Like, really, a lot of the goals is centered around trying to win a championship, whether short-term or long-term, with your parent club. But with that being said, there's a lot of other goals too, that the G League does, equal in some of the same space, of developing coaches, developing front office talent as far as like GMs and scouts. And then on the business side, also, like, we're a pretty good example of a lot.
We might have lost him here for a minute. If he is lost, we'll just get him back in a second. There he is.
Am I back?
You're back.
All right. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to call in with my phone.
Okay.
And then, well, here, I'll keep talking, and then you guys just tell me if I'm off or not, and I'll try to see if I can jump in.
I got you there.
All right. All right. How about that?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. I switched off to my phone, which probably is a little more stable. There's a pretty good thunderstorm here in Lakeland, so I wonder if that's messing with the Wi-Fi and everything else. And you guys are not as shaky anymore. I can actually see you, which is nice.
No, sorry about that. So yeah, so basically the G League, a lot of it's developing staff, players, front office, business office to really just kind of keep a good pipeline of talent to not only hopefully win at the next level, but keep everything stable as well. So like our goals and the proximity of what we're going for in Orlando is to develop, like we're a very young team in full transparency, and again, love Jalen Suggs and love the organization teams we got, but we're not projected to win a lot of games. But with the G League and what we're around here for is to make sure that any of Jalen's teammates, the two-way players, the assignment players, they're in a good culture to win. So we got to make sure that on the business end, we try to find and develop good spots as far as the training facility, the home arena. We help work out deals to try to get weight room equipment and really just kind of finance a lot of the things that they want to do to be able to be successful and again train for that next level. But it's cool on the business organization because how close we are. I pick up the phone and have conversations with a bunch of different of my colleagues in different departments up in Orlando with a lot of the same intent. And even when I came down this way, they told me and they told some of my peers that the goal is that a lot of management, they're continuing to try to grow the brand. And that means that there will be more departments, more jobs. But equal to that, like, as time moves on, people get up there in age, closer to retirement, and they need people to understand the business to kind of keep within it as well. So a lot of it is centered around that same focus on basketball, but it really evolves over the business as well. And I would say that probably half the teams I've been with have been that way. In my early years, a lot of the G League venues and teams were more used for let's call it trade assets. So a lot like my early years, it was we need to develop these guys and also see if they have maybe more or less value. So it's not like it wasn't used for long-term development, but the sole focus was not as internal growth as it was. We just need these guys to be on the court and be ready, if that makes sense.
Definitely. Thank you. Okay. Dr. Bailey, and then Henry, and then Mark after that.
Hi, Hans. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us. As you probably just heard, I'm Dr. Bailey. I'm the faculty advisor for the club, and we really appreciate your time. And one thing that we're always working on figuring out is, maybe just what you're looking for when you're trying to hire people, maybe specifically interns. And also just if you could go back in time and give yourself one piece of advice when you were in the shoes of these students, what would you tell yourself?
Yeah, that's a great question. And yeah, no, thank you for having me and really appreciate the time. I would say the first thing I look at when we're sending out resume or looking at resumes and also putting out applications and trying to fill all these different roles is like I call it, well, I call it kind of a care meter. I might use or have heard different terms behind it, but really just want to see somebody that has passion, that's willing to kind of do whatever it takes, knowing that a lot of the roles in the intern level or your first entry level sales job, for example, a lot of people that want to get to that next level and they want to be, they want to be on the court, they want to be selling the big ticket, they want to be the coach, they want to be the GM, they want to run the franchise as president, they want to be, and this could be applicable to any job. A lot of it, unless you are extremely gifted, very lucky, or and some of these, hopefully all go hand in hand with hardworking, but or if you have family that obviously like owns or knows people, within that company, it's tough and takes time to move up. So a lot of the times, like when I look for good talent and when we look for good talent is ultimately, are they good people? Do they put a smile on? Are they excited? Do they want to come to work? Are they willing to really do what it takes? Because there's a lot of things in different companies. And if you're a small organization, like we might have the Orlando Magic backing us, but we truthfully only have 10 employees currently. We will be full staffed at 13, and then we'll have another, let's call it 10 part-time staff that will work with us on game days. That has nothing to do with the basketball side, but we're a very small corporation that has to figure out who's organizing all the different events. We've got who's cleaning the offices in the back, who's organizing and taking inventory so that we've got enough t-shirts for the next event, and all of these things. Like, it's not anybody's one job, but it's finding people that are interested and just want to develop, be a sponge, be on every call and want to do their best, but then be around to help. That's probably honestly the easiest one to judge, more than just what the resume says. As far as going back in time and telling myself, the one thing that I did not do well at all in school is I did not look for an internship. I just thought I was advised, and I think advised poorly, by my academic advisor, that get your degree, the jobs will come to you, it's going to be great. And I'm not saying that wouldn't have happened if I would have kept, sticking it out. But that last summer, when a lot of my friends and colleagues were all, doing these internships, getting ready to graduate, I was late to the game significantly, and I did not have hardly any options. And a lot of them were interning at Boeing, and interning at Goldman Sachs, and interning at like all these other places that basically they got paid more. The number I told you guys I made in 7 years, 7 years, they made hand and fist over that the first year as an intern, with the expectation, because it takes a lot of money to retrain people. The cost of replacement is not nearly, it's not worth it. And a lot of times it's not worth it, especially if they have good talent. So I did not do a very good job of interning or trying to find an internship, which I'm very, very happy and fortunate for where I'm at. So I don't want to change any of that part of it. But I will say, I don't know what doors could have been open, knowing that I didn't really do a very good job of getting out there to see, and really taking kind of that mentality of, I'm going to learn and see what this is, and go learn from different bosses, what you do and what you don't, how you want to be treated, just the other things within environments. I never got that chance, which is for sure on me. But I would say if that was the one thing, I would revert and do that for sure.
Awesome. Thank you. Mark, go ahead, and then Henry, and then Nassim after that.
All right. Yeah. So my question is, I kind of want to get your take on the new NBA G League Ignite kind of expansion team, and kind of how a lot of like high school players are just coming to the G League instead of going to college and taking that route. I just want to get your take of like, how has that impacted not only like your team in the Lakeland Magic, but also the NBA G League as a whole?
Yeah, no, great question, Mark. So I think the NBA G League Ignite has definitely brought much more attention and eyeballs to the NBA G League itself and its teams. So I think from a business perspective, it's been great. Jalen Green going number 2 overall, the Houston Rockets, and a couple other lottery picks or early picks, has just proven the fact that it's a good, training ground, and an alternative to college. I think me being a competitor, I like the G League Ignite. I think it's it's a way to get eyeballs and what people used to be doing. Now the NIL rules that are out right now, right, for players, Gonzaga can do this. All their athletes, they're used to not be able to have the ability to make money off your likeness and all of those other things. So unless you wanted to risk your eligibility, and take anything underneath the table, your options were, play fair, and let the university make money off of your, sell tickets, sell jerseys without your name on the back, et cetera, et cetera. Or there's a lot of players that went overseas and made a lot of money and would play 1 year professionally. They lose their eligibility and then they come back and they get drafted in the NBA. So, I like it because the same players that were finding the loopholes or did not want to go to college were now going to be kept in the United States. And I only say that in a positive way of like helping the NBA grow. Obviously, there's a lot of international growth, and it's the best league in the world. But to have players in your backyard really, really helps out the call up feature, because FIBA and the international agency in which it is, it's much tougher to mark if you're playing overseas in Spain, and we have a game like our top center and the backup, they both got hurt that night, or in this case, COVID, right? There's no way for me to get you in time for like our next couple games. It would very much behoove me to just go look at the G League and get a guy that's in my backyard or a one domestic flight, just like that. So I think what the G League Ignite did is it's shown a light on that, which on the business end, I think is great. I think what it also did is I think it really, really kicked the NCAA into gear to being like, all right, we got to do something about this NIL and try to not be reactive, which just kind of propensates business and athletes being able to make money in some regards where they won't otherwise. And I say that watching a lot of players or being a part of teams at Utah where we were not very good. We had one guy while I was there that is still in the NBA, but other than that, everybody else was such hard worker, put in all the time in the world, but they never made any money off of it. So I think all in all, I think the G League Ignite is a smashing success for not only the player development, but the business that it's not only kicked here within the G League, but I think also what it's because of that helped kick the NCAA a little bit. So I think all in all, I'm in favor of it.
All right, awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Henry, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, so would you say that the G League is kind of similar to like a minor league team in baseball in the sense that like front office people, they wear a bunch of different hats and like have a bunch of different responsibilities, whereas in like a major league team, there's more people because it's just a bigger scale?
100%. No, you hit the nail on the head. Everything about the G League, like we try, and I'm sure maybe minor league baseball says the same, but they've had the acronym forever. Is we try to say that there's nothing minor about us and about our league, but as far as the actual concepts behind it, yeah, you're absolutely right. We're small market. We're trying to develop. All my previous roles, but even like this one, I have my hand in so many pots, doing a whole bunch of other jobs and responsibilities, and it's been great from a development standpoint. I would say relatively so. I'm fairly young and might be one of the younger presidents in our league, but I can tell you, like in the NBA, I would not be in my current position. Like I would not be the president of the Orlando Magic at this current junction. So the minor league, the G League, from a basketball side, from a business side, it definitely allows you to get more experience in other realms in which you'd be a little more siloed in the NBA. Not that, or in professional sports, not that it's a bad thing. And you get to be very, very good and very crafted in that specific skill. But it's a lot of fun being similar to what you said, kind of the AAA of the NBA, and being able to kind of really touch everything, not only in basketball on their side, but then business on this side as well.
Thank you.
Nassim, go ahead, and then we'll do Matthew next.
Hey Hans, this is Nassim with the Sports Management Club. You touched base on watching players like LaMarcus Aldridge and Tim Duncan and coaches such as Greg Popovich coach. I'm just curious what the players and coaches have taught you that have made you a better president.
I think from a president sense, I think the biggest thing is just understanding. I think that and again, without jumping into like the bad side of this stuff, but it really shows you that they're people first, right? Like when you grow up just watching them on TV or anything else, like a lot of people look at athletes and role models of like, oh, they stunk, and you see people get booed, and it's like, oh, they're like, and you forget that they have families, they care, a lot of them tried hard to work in their education and give back to their communities. And so I think being on the coaching side and being a part of those different organizations helped me understand what they do, what they care about. They're people first. They have families. They have mouths they want to feed. They know the same thing that I just kind of said earlier about like the determination of internships and my willingness to grind and take a little bit to try to gain a lot or really kind of grow in my profession. They do the same thing. So the G League's kind of like that. A lot of people, especially when they're starting out, they try to be involved as much as possible in the community, and they want to be on every bobblehead and they want to do all that because they want to get their name out there, and they want to be part of giving back. And I'd say that that being in my current role has been nice to witness that, because a lot of the times that, again, you see it outside looking in, or from a business perspective, is really all you really care about is winning, losing. Will they show up to this appearance? Will they do, whatever else that would help drive attendance and social media and all this other stuff? And I think sometimes the ability to see them as people and care for their families, and how do we make sure their well-being and their mental space, and how do we find fun things that they like to do? So rather than just taking everybody to all the different clinics or check a box more or less for different things that the league asks us to do, that we want to do too, but how do you find passions behind different individuals so that you're helping them see different areas of life, see different areas of nonprofits, and really help giving back that way. So I think being on the basketball side has definitely helped me understand the personal side of things to see kind of the bigger picture that goes behind the business.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Matthew, go ahead, and then Julian after that.
Hey, Hans, thank you for taking the time to join us today. My question was really just around, athlete development outside of sport, and just kind of wondering about what kind of programs or, resources that the Lakeland Magic offer, their athletes to really excel outside of basketball.
Yeah, great question. So the NBA G League a while back created a program, and then also internal, have every team have kind of a development coordinator. So what we do is we are asking players different career paths and different things that they would like to do. So for example, before the shutdown, right? So a year ago, 2 years ago, technically, we had an individual that really wanted to examine kind of criminology and the FBI and kind of that background. And so we went into our community and went and talked to the Polk County Sheriff's Department, went and found local law enforcement to really understand and talk through different ways in which we could get that player connected with them, to kind of go through understanding like what life could be after basketball. Because the very, very, very select few, the less than 1%, ever get that cup of tea at the NBA level, the MLB, the NFL. So it's fun to be able to show them that the other side, that hopefully they continue on, and hopefully they have a long lasting career, and one that takes them everywhere they want to go, both financially and travel wise and everything else. But the league has put a premise on, and we help kind of show them the other side, because us in our community, we deal with a lot of business partners and season ticket holders and people that care within the community. So it's easier for us when the guys come into market, knowing that like they're not even here right now. They're going to come in 2 weeks, stay through April, and they're going to go back to their respective market. Or and they might have just came out of college. They might go back, to wherever NBA market and stuff like that. So like when they're here for their development, we help on that end, help them get connected, see what the next steps could be. We get them connected with different nonprofits and want to make sure they get involved in community events. There's a couple, they're called team awareness meetings. So we get them different financial guidance, so that they make sure that they understand how to take care of themselves, but they're also not getting taken advantage of. And then just kind of working down just different life lessons, because some of these people that come our way, and again, say it respectfully, but they're kids. They're 18, 19 years old if they only played 1 year in college. So it's just helping make sure that we're a resource for them. But that's a lot of the development and talent that we try to do for our guys outside of basketball.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Moving right along here, Julian, and then Bodie, and we'll probably wrap it up here pretty quickly. Julian, you still there?
Yeah, realized I was muted before. My bad. All right, so this is more of a curiosity question. Because of your last name, has anybody ever thought that you're part of like the family that owns the Yankees by any chance?
Julian, that's the only reason that I'm in my current role. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, there's been a lot of questions that way. It actually happens more in Florida than I thought it would, because technically George Steinbrenner and their spring league team, they come down to Tampa. And there's the Tampa Bay Rays. I've heard really the primary reason why they're here is because of George Steinbrenner and his family. So there's been quite a handful of people that ask me that, because it's in sports. There's a lot of more people that are a little more in the know of different organizations across the league. So I get the question fairly often. I probably don't just out and about, but pending where I'm at, but then also because I'm in the sports world. That question comes up every once in a while.
All right, thank you for that. I was just curious, to be honest with you.
Awesome. Bodie, go ahead.
All right. I was just a little curious about how involved, what your role would be like when summer league happens.
Well, so when summer league happens, me personally, we might have some presidents meetings out that way, and just kind of get involved, because that's when a lot of changes happen. The season's over, so that happens on the front office and the basketball side. It kind of happens on the business side as well, of just people shuffling around in the off seasons, for growth of their own and seeing if there's greener pastures. So there's movement that happens that way. Other than that, for me currently, it's probably more for enjoyment than anything else, as I moved out of kind of the coaching and scouting world. But it's a good networking. That's truly where all the scouts, all the players, everybody that I've made connections with in the past, it would just be a good networking thing for me to end up going there. But as far as any super beneficial reason, other than possibly a president's meeting that may or may not be out there every year, summer league for me is not as impactful as it would be unless I was on the basketball side.
All right, thank you.
Awesome. Hans, I'm just going to take this opportunity to wrap it up. Ray, and I'm the vice president of the club. Just one last question before we finish up here. Thank you so much for your time. I just want to kind of get behind the curtains. The reason some of us started this was to get a different look at sports, and just want to see, talk a lot about you and your position. What's the most difficult part of your job, or what do you think is the hardest? And then again, on the flip side of that, what's your favorite part about it? Something, that we as students without a lot of experience now might not think about as being part of the job.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I would say the most difficult, stressful thing right now for me, as I come into this is going to be my first year of being a team president with fans in the stands. So we've got a ton of protocols, a ton of arena meetings and new ticket back language, and 15 feet from the court, and do you wear masks? How do you police it? And then in addition to that, there's a lot of requirements or just needs for security personnel and stat crew. And I think the biggest stressor and most challenging is probably just the HR piece of just ensuring and keeping that mental and physical tally of okay, do we have enough people as of right now to have a game on November 5th? And if not, we got to get moving to make sure that we've got enough good people and talent to, make the show run. So that's probably the biggest stress, other than just like the constant that a lot of people deal with is, never settling in sales and just always want to make sure you get that next bit. So that's kind of a constantly revolving look over your shoulder, like, how are we doing? But the biggest stress right now is for sure hiring and making sure to follow the protocols. But I'll say this though, from a fun standpoint, I will say the most enjoyment that I get out of this role is that I get to wake up every day and go to bed realizing that, like, I'm in sports. I pinch myself knowing that, like, I get the best seat in the house. I sit courtside. I go meet a ton of individuals in the community, and it's so much fun because they're passionate, because I'm passionate. They talk about sports, and it's fun. And I can't believe I watched that buzzer beater last night, and oh my goodness, my kids had a great time with the mascot. And you're really, really changing kind of communities. But like, just as another amazing piece is, like, we're going to do something that I'm not familiar with any minor league or major league team doing, which is we're prepped and planned to have every single one of our games having 1,000 giveaways at the door. So first 1,000 people come and get, a bobblehead, t-shirt, you name it. And those are things that, like, you outfit and you get ready to give out in the community. But it's fun too to take care of your staff. Again, I said we have 10 people, so of the 1,000, we always peel away, a couple to just take care of, us internally. So a lot of the things that might not be able to resonate all the time, as far as salaries or the amount of hours that you put in sports, I think you get to wake up and go to bed being like, oh man, I literally work in sports. I've got all these random shirts and clothes and fun things around me that I did not pay for. It's just fun. It's my community, my team. And then you get to go talk to people about it, and everybody typically, for the most part, like, wants to see you succeed. Even other teams in your own market, they're rooting for your success as you're also rooting for them. And it's not really a Burger King versus McDonald's. It's everybody's really, really wanting you to do well, even if they don't necessarily like sports. So it's that's a very long answer to your question, but I think there's a lot that's fun. And it's just realizing kind of the environment in which you're in.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And thank you for joining us. Thank you for taking time to answer questions. I thought that was great. Answered the questions really well. And let's give him a round of applause and thank him, either with the cameras on or with the clapping emoji, however you want to do it. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your insight with the students here.
Yeah, absolutely. More than happy to. Really appreciate all your guys' time, and best of luck in the academic year to come.
Thank you. Good luck on your upcoming season as well.
Appreciate it. Thank you guys very much.
Yep. For any students that aren't a part of the Sport Management Club, we do have other speakers coming. I just put the link in the chat right now. You can go to that link, click on that. You can join there. You can see what other events we have coming up. We have other speakers just as good, just great speakers coming up. So join there and you can find out everything there. Again, Mr. Steinbrenner, thank you so much. And that'll conclude this speaker series with Hans Steinbrenner. Thank everybody for coming out.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Hans.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.